Welcome into the DNZ Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Zach, joined as always with my fellow LOC league mates Drake and Nick, here to bring you the latest news and knowledge in the world of fantasy football. Spring is finally here in Kansas City, and with that comes spring cleaning for your fantasy football rosters. Today we're going to break down kind of what our league setup is and go over what our rosters look like, maybe do a little bit of spring cleaning of our own. Just kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at on our own rosters and how we're making decisions moving forward. I think kind of the plan is to kind of have some of our other league mates on as guests, and we'll do this kind of periodically and break down their rosters, kind of what they're looking at, and just kind of give an overall insight into what our league looks like, as well as the fantasy football decisions we're making.
Yeah, so kind of part one of our team breakdowns, we'll kind of go through the offseason and, like Zach said, bring some league mates in for the pod and talk shit or praise their team, however it may be. So at this point, I mean, we've got the draft in the past now, so you kind of need to go through, reevaluate your team. Maybe there's guys that can be cut, get your rosters ready to roll for your rookie drafts. And, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with my roster. I know I'm going to have to make some interesting cuts once the draft does come around. But let's kind of touch on our league settings here first. So, obviously, Dynasty League, Superflex League, 10 teams. We've got one quarterback along with that Superflex, which Superflex, if you don't know, you can play a wide receiver, running back, tight end, or a quarterback. So usually it's used for a quarterback. It doesn't have to be. So it's essentially a 2-quarterback league. We've got 2 running back positions, 2 wide receiver positions, 1 tight end position, and then 2 flex spots on top of that Superflex. And then kicker and defense as well. And then our bench spots. How many bench spots we got here?
This was a big point
11
of contention for you, Drake. We had a league meeting. You really were pushing for an expansion there.
I still do, honestly. So we've got 11 bench spots. And how many fucking starting roster spots do we have?
I'm with you, too. I think we should have increased the taxi squad as well. There's plenty of dudes that we really don't even have the opportunity to just sit on.
The more I look at it, I know you brought this up, Drake, the more I look at our roster setup, I do think having a second or third taxi squad spot makes a little sense.
Yeah, so we've got 11 starting spots, 11 bench spots, and then we've got 2 IR spots, and then 1 taxi squad spot at the moment. But, Zach, what were you saying? You think we should have 1 more taxi squad spot, 2 more taxi squad spots? What do you think?
I would probably vote yes for 1 and 2, so yeah.
This is posed directly to the league here. Let us know. Should we revote? Do we expand the bench? Do we expand the taxi squad? Let us know.
We are a league of compromise, so we're always open to changes. And we want to consult everybody and make sure everybody's on the same page. But I would like having 3 taxi squad spots as well. Because, I mean, we would just throw your rookies right there on the taxi squad right away, even if you do draft them late in round 1, early round 2, and then you've got your 3rd round pick. Just throw them on the taxi squad, and I mean that's going to give you. And it's not like they're just going to sit on your taxi squad all season. You're going to bring those guys in to your starting roster, to your benches, and then you can't refill your taxi squad. So you're going to have to cut one of those guys during the season regardless. So delaying it, I think, helps owners figure out what the right move is. And maybe you could also, in a way, I think people could also manipulate it and maybe don't want to, why other people don't want to do it is maybe you drop those guys that you're able to on your bench, put all 3 of your rookies right there in your bench spot, and then go pick up all these other guys, these rookies that could pan out that necessarily didn't get drafted or barely missed that 3rd round. They just go pick them up right away and put them on their taxi squad. So all of a sudden they've got 6 rookies on their roster, which seems like a lot, and I think that's going to be a really hard way to go about it. And you're not going to have much success with that. But I don't know. Maybe that's why people don't want to do it.
I don't know.
Well, the reason you might expand that to what you said is Malik Willis this year or a Trey Lance last year. You want to draft these guys, but you know they're not going to play this year. What would you have done with a Patrick Mahomes with our setup? We all knew he wasn't going to play, but we also knew he was going to play.
Perfect.
So where do you put him?
The taxi squad's perfect for that. So only having 1 spot for your taxi squad. I think we should have at least one more, if not two. I mean, we've got 3 rounds, so you're picking 3 rookies. Why not just have 3 taxi squad spots? I think it's that simple.
And that's, I guess, kind of what made me switch up my mindset was, right, we have a 3-round rookie mock, or not mock draft, but a 3-round rookie draft coming up here in about 100 days. It's going to make a lot of sense to do exactly that. It made sense when we did our startup to have the 1 taxi spot just because rookies and everyone was available right out of the gate. And so you kind of knew who you were wanting to have on your roster, get everything going. Yeah, I'm on board with the 3 taxi squad spots.
Yeah,
Let us know. Let us know.
Yep. Hope everybody's listening, and maybe we'll bring it up, shoot a poll into the sleeper chat. Just kind of roll through our scoring. 4-point passing touchdown. You do get 2 points for a 2-point conversion. I think one thing that I like about this league is there's a 40+ yard touchdown bonus. So you've got those big play guys like Tyreek, or if you want to go out, you want to go out there and draft a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson because you know he can break it the distance for a long touchdown. I mean, you get extra points for that shit. So that's an interesting stat we've got in our league. 6-point rushing touchdown. And that's really the synopsis. Obviously, it's PPR, 6-point receiving touchdown. So nothing too fancy. It's pretty standard.
Yeah, so I guess kind of after breaking all of that down, kind of know what our league looks like, why don't we just jump right in and go over some of the rosters. I can go ahead and go first. I did finish runner-up in our league, and this is pretty much the roster that I had going with a few off-season additions. Just trying to take a couple gambles on some guys who might make some rosters. Kind of go over those as we get there. But
so I've got your roster pulled up here. Is this your starting week 1 roster, you think? As close as it's going to get?
Definitely not. I mean, I guess with the
few... it's shit can change, yeah.
Yeah, a few changes just based on rookies and all of that.
Oh, yeah, especially, yeah, for sure.
Starting quarterback, I have Justin Herbert. He will be in my quarterback position. Week 1 for sure.
Yeah, nice quarterback to have. Dynasty purposes especially.
Yep. And I think I picked him up. I drafted him, if we're just kind of looking at that. 106 last year in our startup draft. Rashad Penny and Javonte Williams are my 2 starting running backs. I think there's the most flexibility there. I also have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a flex position. I have Marlon Mack, who just went to the Houstons, who I think could make a difference there.
Yeah, so your 3 running backs all have a shared backfield currently.
Yep.
You got Rashad Penny with Kenneth Walker III. No idea if Chris Carson comes back, so that's guaranteed shared backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Melvin fucking Gordon coming back, I've got Javonte in my other dynasty league, and I'm ready to plug him in as my running back 1, running back 2. He's still young. He's going to be at that breakout age next year, and he's going to be ready to thrive next year, but I hate having Melvin Gordon there in Denver to kind of take snaps away from Javonte.
True. I mean, looking at his stat line last year, though, so for PPR in our league, he finished running back 17. He did have 903 yards and 4 touchdowns. I can see that going up somewhere to right around 1,000, and then 5 or 6 touchdowns. So I can see him taking a big leap and probably hopping into the top 15 for running backs there.
Yeah, you kind of hope because it was like 50-50 last year with him and Melvin.
Yeah.
So you kind of hope they maybe shift to like 70-30, and then next year hand the keys off to Javonte for next year. So hopefully that changes a little bit and they don't share that backfield a bit.
True.
And then with Clyde, they've got Ronald Jones coming in. I mean, I think Clyde is still running back 1 there for you.
Yep.
So it's a solid flex spot, solid running back 2.
Yep.
So, I mean, maybe that's not the greatest running back 2. I mean, I'm not sure if my running back 2 is much better, but
I also have Ramondre Stevenson, who, again, another shared backfield guy who I think could see a little bit more just based on his latter half of the season last year production. Going back to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though, I mean, Patrick Mahomes did state this offseason that he's really looking forward to running the football more this season. That, you know, they've been a pass-heavy team since Patrick's come into the league, and he's really looking at diversifying that offensive playbook. And so I really think Clyde could, as long as he can stay healthy, I feel like that's been his biggest thing, is he can never stay healthy. So
you saw the Chiefs last year. There'd be a few drives during some games where the O-line's like, run the ball. Trey Smith's like, run the ball.
Yep.
Keep running the ball. And we just march down the field running the ball. Maybe we shift towards that, having no Tyreek there. Maybe Clyde helps a little bit more in the passing game out of the backfield with no Tyreek in there.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, I think he's good at it. He breaks tackles
Well, that's
fairly
why we
well.
drafted him, because he was apparently the best pass-catching running back in that draft. And now that hasn't panned out that way. But
Right.
moving on here to my wide receivers, this is where my team really excels. I have Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, MVS, Devontae Smith. I have Josh Gordon, who I claimed off waiver wires. Sammy Watkins, I acquired off waiver wires. Jarvis Landry, KJ Osborne, and Van Jefferson, also all on my roster. So
You got Cedric Wilson there too. Can't forget about
Cedric Wilson.
Cedric.
Yep. So just a bunch of guys. Obviously, Jefferson is wide receiver 1 or 2 in a lot of leagues. Jalen Waddle is the reason that I was in the championship last year. He really came out. He's going to see a lot of. He's going to see his production drop quite a bit, I believe, with Tyreek Hill.
I don't think so. I think you'll see a really good 1-2 punch there. Devontae's never going to be double teamed. Last year he was the man to cover on that offense. Now they have a fucking problem.
You mean Jalen Waddle?
Jalen Waddle.
There's
Waddle. You all know what I'm saying.
There's a lot of mouths to feed there in Miami.
Yeah.
So
Well, shit. Same thing here with Devontae Smith, getting AJ Brown in that offense too.
1-2 punch.
1-2 punch. So I like a lot of these guys. Obviously with Devontae and Jalen Waddle.
those are cornerstone guys.
Yep.
Those guys are going to be
young.
playing 10 plus years. You would think, and you mentioned it, but Waddle, I matched up with Zach in the semifinals. Something like that. The game before the championship.
Yep.
And I was up by like 25 points, and he had the Dolphins playing, so he had the Dolphins defense, and he had Jalen Waddle at the same time, and I think it was more than 25. I want to say it was like 40. I was up by a decent amount, and I felt good.
The Dolphins defense scored a touchdown. I know
and
that.
the Dolphins defense put up 20 plus points, and Jalen Waddle put up 20 plus points, and I fucking lost.
Yep.
And if I was in the championship, I would have fucking waxed, but it's just not how the dice rolled for me. So yeah, Jalen Waddle, I've got bad memories of him in the fantasy playoffs.
Yep. For tight end, I have Kyle Pitts and I have Mike Gesicki. Love Kyle Pitts. Gesicki's probably going to be more so of. He's probably going to see more of a target share loss, more so than Jalen Waddle, I believe.
But yeah, you've got Pitts. Pitts is that's the tight end you want in Dynasty.
Yep.
Like, holy shit. Having Pitts, Waddle, Jefferson, Javonte Williams, dude. Like, I even Devontae Smith. I know he's got a AJ Brown there, but I mean, those cornerstones, you throw in Justin Herbert, like those cornerstones you've got, your starting lineup I love your team.
Yep. The one thing I am lacking is that second quarterback for the Superflex. I have Drew Lock, who I'm praying to God wins a starting position for week 1.
Not once they pick up Baker Mayfield.
Well, you had a good Superflex. You had a good quarterback 2, quarterback 1, but you traded him away.
Yeah, I did have Aaron Rodgers, who I traded away for the 107 spot this year. So
great trade. Shit.
I mean, how many more years does Aaron Rodgers have? 2? 3? Wasn't it a 3-year deal that he signed?
It was a 3-year extension.
So I'd take the under on that and just go with 2 maybe.
Who'd you make that trade with? Let's call people out.
It was Jared Woody.
Jared Woody. That's
So,
what you're hiding behind now. The name Woody.
I'm happy with the trade. I'm just kind of unhappy the year that it happened with the quarterbacks that were available this year. I was really hoping to see a little bit more out of these quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, their draft capital is shot.
Mm-hmm. But I'm going to keep my eye out this offseason, kind of see how people's rookie mini camps, OTAs, and their actual training camps go this summer, and hopefully come up with a decision on what my draft picks, because we do have a snake for our rookie draft. So I have 107, 109, and I have the 202 as well. So that's prime capital there to add to a running back position, get a quarterback position, and maybe even a wide receiver, pick up a second quarterback and just double dip and see what happens.
Yeah.
So
snagging Kenny Pickett there wouldn't be terrible.
No.
I mean, especially if he comes in and starts, obviously.
Really happy with my roster. I think it's a little top heavy. at points, but I would really like to try and even that out a bit. But overall, I'm pretty happy with where it's at. Why don't you go through yours and see what we're looking at with you? Drake. Sorry.
Trying to make sure I don't have any more thoughts here for you, Zach. I think that's all I really had.
Yeah. I do have Jordan Love, too. I don't know if I said I had Jordan Love, but I was really hoping...
The GM was talking shit on Jordan Love this week, I think, wasn't he?
I think you were talking about your boy Trey.
No, we don't even need to talk about that. I don't answer stupid questions.
That's a smoke screen.
They're trying to sell Jimmy G, okay? They're trying to sell Jimmy G.
He just had shoulder surgery.
All right. Well,
Shoulder.
that was Zach's team. Zach's team, I love it, dude. And you drafted a lot of those 2021 rookies last year in the startup. Like that strategy, you had the best record in the league in the regular season. You got second place in the league. You're ready to run it back for year in and year out. And you drafted a ton of rookies in your startup draft. So I think that was an interesting
I drafted Jalen Waddle in the 8th round.
Jesus.
When I get Devontae Smith, this is going to be really scary. The 7th round. Wow, so I got Devontae ahead of Jalen Waddle.
And Jalen Waddle got picked before Devontae in the real-life NFL draft.
And Waddle ain't the number one target anymore down in Miami. This dude's going to go off this year.
Yeah, Tua's going to go crazy, huh?
Contract year, essentially, for him. Especially as Nick says, he's so high on these quarterbacks coming out next year.
Waddle did what he did last year with a Tua as the number one target. So now we got to hold. The defense is going to be paying attention elsewhere. It might make it a little easier on Tua to get it to his former teammate.
All right, so I'll kind of run through my team here now, and you guys got anything to say about my players, just go ahead and jump in. So my starting quarterback, Calamari. I drafted him last year at the 105, so a pick before Justin Herbert, which at the time seemed like the right move. But I think if we had to redo it, you kind of flip-flop those. But I don't think Kyler's too different than Herbert in startup ranks by any means.
I think the only thing scary with him is kind of what his situation is there in the desert. You don't really know if he's going to be there long-term, who their long-term offensive weapons are going to be. So you're really just relying on his pure athletic ability as a quarterback to manufacture those points.
Right, and watching the Cardinals just kind of slowly fall after like the back half of last season once DeAndre Hopkins got hurt. And now with DeAndre Hopkins not playing the first 6 games of the season, I mean, obviously I think bringing in Marquise Brown is helpful. Re-signing A.J. Green is helpful. But no DeAndre Hopkins changed that offense last year. So I'm a little worried about kind of how Kyler starts the season. But my second quarterback, I'm ready to roll. Trey Lance is my super flex spot, my second quarterback here. And Trey Lance is ready to take off. I kind of overpaid for him, I think, in our startup, if you ask me. I picked him in the 4th round, 406 in our startup. I didn't want anybody else to get Trey Lance, and I was pretty high on him. I liked him better than Justin Fields. I liked him better than Trevor Lawrence. Pretty much better than every quarterback that came out last year. So I'm ready for Trey Lance to have a big year, a big breakout second year. So, I'm a big believer in Trey Lance.
Yeah, and why did you love Trey Lance last year? I mean, talk yourself back into it. Just because they have a couple smoke grenades on the ground right now while they're trying to move Jimmy G. Get yourself hype again.
Well, he did get drafted number 3 overall. So
they obviously see something in him.
For the Kyle Shanahan offense, like there's a ton of weapons there. If Debo stays, he's still in a fantastic spot. If Debo goes, maybe you kind of bring him down a little bit. But they've got Ayuk still there, Kittle still there. They've got a crowded backfield. I know they like to run the ball, but Trey Lance has that rushing upside.
Yeah, the key word you just said there was Shanahan. This dude is a QB guru. They, like you said, they went out of their way to draft Trey Lance last year. They did what you did. They have every intention on moving Jimmy G. All the trash talk right now is from the Niners inside sources. They're just trying to move Jimmy G. They know what they got in Trey Lance. This dude can run the ball.
Yeah, Jimmy G ain't starting if he stays. And he's not staying. So I totally agree.
49ers offense, always productive. Always productive. Whether it was Ayuk the year before, it was Debo last year. Jimmy G took him to a Super Bowl. You're going to give Trey Lance, a dude that is running the ball, he's throwing the ball in a Shanahan offense. I'd feel pretty good.
And this
if I were
offense,
you.
I feel this offense could look a lot different because it's been Jimmy G there the whole time. Jimmy G and Trey Lance are very different quarterbacks. Trey Lance has a better arm. He can run the ball. And having both of those capabilities and seeing how much he runs the ball on the goal line and red zone, like he's going to snipe a lot of touchdowns from that running back, those running backs there, and even maybe Kittle. I'm almost maybe a little worried about Kittle. But I'm ready to roll for Trey Lance. Got him in my super flex. And my quarterback 3, made a trade for him over the offseason. We talked about it last podcast. But I got Zach Wilson there in my quarterback 3 spot. So love the potential there, especially after the draft. So having him as my quarterback 3, having 2 second-year quarterbacks on my roster. My quarterback position's pretty set here. So I don't think I'm eyeing it too much in the rookie drafts, especially with this rookie class. So
I almost wonder. I'm looking at that. It says, 98% rostered. I'm actually surprised that's not 100, and 34% start. I have a feeling that 34% is being held back by a bunch of people that haven't done the spring cleaning that we've done this year.
exactly, yeah,
I
you
would
can't take
think-
too much stock.
I think Zach Wilson's going to be starting on most teams that happen to be an owner next year.
Right, and maybe if Kyler Murray just has a slow start, and
Yeah, you're
maybe
in a
I'll-
good spot.
maybe
You're in
I'll
a
just
good
rock
spot
with
there.
Trey Lance and Zach Wilson. So even if they're not
That's your
that
QB
good this
battle.
year, I mean they're going to get better year in and year out. You'd hope. And I've got one of the best running backs you can have in dynasty football in Najee Harris. Now he is a little bit older for his draft class. He's already 24 years old. Where Javonte, how old Javonte was drafted in the same draft class, and Javonte is only 22 years old. So Najee is a little older based on his just draft class in general, but he's that top 2, top 3 running back in dynasty football right now, behind
Absolutely.
Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's in a league of his own. Not comparing him or saying Najee's better than Jonathan Taylor, but even with that bad offensive line last year, I mean, he got a ton of volume, so he's going to get some. But that O-line was terrible last year, and Najee still did
It was
pretty
god-awful.
solid. And I think Kenny Pickett's or even Trubisky is maybe a slight upgrade over Roethlisberger based on how Big Ben played last year. So I love having Najee there. And my second running back, I'm a little more skeptical on, and Antonio Gibson. What do you guys think for Antonio here this year?
I was an owner in another league last year, and he was just kind of a big letdown. It kind of has a bad taste in my mouth, but there's no reason you don't bounce right back from that. He didn't do anything last year to disprove anything that everyone was hyping him up about last year. It's just all right, now we have to see it this year kind of deal.
He's been in the league one more year than Najee has, and he's a year younger than Najee, which is interesting. He finished the running back 12 last year when it seemed like he kind of had a down year, which I'll take running back 12 for my running back 2.
That comes as a shock to me, quite honestly.
If he could redo that, I would take that right now. Now they did re-sign J.D. McKissick, which I fucking hate J.D. McKissick. And then they did also draft Brian Robinson out of Alabama. So, I mean, I'm not worried about Brian Robinson taking a whole lot of snaps from Antonio. Like, he's not a better prospect than Antonio was out of college. So, I mean, Antonio is clearly the best running back in that backfield, but I just don't.
Where was Antonio in college?
Memphis.
Okay. I like knowing that shit.
That's where Kenneth Gainwell came from, Memphis as well. So Memphis has put in and produced a couple running backs past few years. But I just don't trust Ron Rivera and making him that workhorse running back. You've always seen, he used to be at Carolina. I couldn't name the running backs, but they used to always have a shared backfield. They'd have 2 running backs and use them both. So I don't trust Rivera. So that's kind of what I'm worried about this year and how much they actually use Gibson. But I think he's got all the talent in the world. He used to play wide receiver. So throw him the ball. He makes plays. There was a run last year. I don't remember who he was playing against. Maybe it was Dallas. But he had a insane run where he dove to the pylon. It was crazy. Just get the man the ball.
What? That was crazy to me. Antonio Gibson doesn't look like he used to be a wide receiver. I'll tell you that much. He's pretty thick.
All right, there's definitely a reason they made that position change. But we'll kind of move on to my wide receiver. I guess I only went through 2 running backs, so I mean those guys are pretty solid in my starting spot. My next running back, who is maybe not my running back 3 anymore, but he was. I had Michael Carter, so I'm a little worried about what Michael Carter is going to do this year and for the foreseeable future. With Breece Hall in town, I've got Kenneth Gainwell there as well. Trey Sermon, which Trey Sermon might be a drop candidate, might be a spring cleaning here, or maybe if I don't cut him now, it might be down the road once we get through our rookie draft, and because the freaking 49ers drafted another running back, that LSU running back.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can never trust the Rams or the 49ers backfield. Then I've got Khalil Herbert in there as well. I mean, David Montgomery gets hurt every year, doesn't he? He got hurt last year, and Herbert played a few games. He put up a lot of really good rushing yards. He didn't score a lot of touchdowns. But I think Herbert's got the juice if he gets that run. So I've got a lot of guys that are one injury away on my bench, with Najee as a solidified starter, and then Gibson kind of sharing that third down role as well. So I don't love my running back position, but having Najee there, I think makes a big difference.
Helps.
So it kind of gives me a little slack, you could say. And then here for my wide receiver position, I got Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore. Also have Brandon Cooks, Christian Kirk, DJ Moore, and Gabe Davis. So a lot of those guys.
It's a pretty solid.
Change teams, but those backup guys, I mean, Christian Kirk could be the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville.
Yep.
Brandon Cooks is still the wide receiver 1 in Houston. Gabe Davis is that clear-cut wide receiver 2 in Buffalo, the most pass-happy offense. Second most, maybe. Top 2 pass-happy offense in the whole league.
Especially if he can do what he did against the Chiefs in that AFC Championship, or in the divisional round, fucking putting up 4 touchdowns.
Right. I think he's got the talent, and they're going to use him. Like, they saw what he did. Why not? Let's just throw him the ball a little bit more. The one thing that's kind of hard for me with the wide receiver position is I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown and DJ Chark. So they're both on the Detroit Lions. Mm-hmm. And with my 108 pick, I've done a lot of mock drafts, and Jameson Williams has fallen to me at that 8th spot a lot.
Oh.
So,
damn.
Do I draft team need? Do I pick somebody else other than Jameson Williams just because I have those 2 guys on my roster? I don't think I will. I think I'm going to bet on talent, bet on draft capital.
Bad situation to be in. That's torture.
Exactly. I don't want 3 Detroit Lion wide receivers.
I had 3 Bengals last year, and let me tell you, going into, or not, maybe not receivers, but I had every big player on the Bengals offense last year. Different league, but going into the year, you're like, wow, I have the Cincinnati Bengals on my offense.
I remember talking to you about it. Like,
it worked out.
So invested in the Bengals offense.
It worked out.
You won that league, that other league we're talking about.
So maybe.
But I think even if Jameson Williams does fall to me there at the 108, I mean, I think there's other guys there I could take over him if Sky Moore's still there, Christian Watson. But, I mean, Jameson Williams, I love his talent. I mean, we were really high on him before the draft. So why would I change my tune with that just because he shares a team with my 2 other receivers? Like, I'm going to have the best wide receiver in Detroit, whether that's a good thing or a thing I should be proud about or that's actually going to work out for fantasy-wise. I have no idea, but I think if that's just an interesting scenario I'm kind of having to deal with. And it's nice having Mark Andrews as my tight end position. So he's the best tight end in fantasy football last year. Travis Kelce's up there, obviously, but Mark Andrews tight end 1 last year, so he's almost like a wide receiver for me. So with having like Godwin, Ayuk, Elijah Moore, I don't have like a number 1 guy. So having Andrews helps me out a lot with that. And then I've got Pat Freiermuth as my tight end 2.
You love the Muth.
Love the Muth. He was a rookie last year, so he's coming into year 2 out of Penn State. Love the potential there, and maybe Kenny Pickett kind of relies on him. I was watching highlights of Pat Freiermuth here earlier today, and there seemed like a lot of third down, like 3rd and short, 3rd and medium conversions that they were throwing the ball to Pat Freiermuth, and he was converting. So I think he's solid for PPR and has touchdown upside. So I like him at that tight end 2 for me.
Yeah.
And I also have Njoku, tight end 3. We'll see how long he stays on my roster. I should probably try and trade him. He's taking up a roster spot. He's going to be good this year in fantasy, I believe. But there's really no point for me having 3 tight ends.
We're going to have to talk about tight end here in a minute then.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I've got the 108, the 203, and the 308. So that's kind of like a Jameson Williams, Olave, Sky Moore there in the first round. Maybe like a Rashad White, Pickens, Dotson, right there in that. Even James Cook could maybe fall that far in the second round, and then third
You're
round.
not a big,
that's all
you're not a big
grabs.
James Cook fan, though.
No,
Don't even act like you would pick him up.
No, I mean he'd be there. He's going to be one of the options there at the 203. But
Yep.
I still like Rachaad White. I would have him maybe 1 or 2 spots above James Cook.
Yep. Nick, why don't you go ahead and give us your team analysis? What did you finish last year?
Well, that's a great question. I didn't even look that far. I was in 5 leagues last year, but doing some spring cleaning on this roster, what the vibes I'm getting is I'm really, really excited for this upcoming season, but I really also need to be on alert moving forward. This is a very win now roster.
Can I tell you what you finished last year real quick?
Yes, please, actually.
You finished 7th.
Okay.
But your overall record was 7-7. And there was 1, 2, 3, 4 other teams, 5 teams total that finished 7-7. So the only reason you finished 7th is that you had the lowest points for than all those other 7-7 teams.
Again,
so you were the worst 7-7 team, but 7-7. Our league is very competitive. It's top heavy, but there's all those teams in between are about the same.
And my team really, 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 really has me excited for this year. So just starting off with the QB position, Russell Wilson making a massive move to Denver where he has weapons. He's on a winning team. Josh Allen, my other QB, obviously rocking him in the super flex there. I have him linked up with Steph Diggs, but let's go position by position. So theme of my roster, it looks great. I'm really, really excited for this upcoming season, but I need to be on alert for future seasons. I might be a LA Rams looking deal here.
Hold on, can we talk about your quarterbacks a little bit?
Yeah, so starting with those QBs, Russell Wilson makes the huge move.
Right.
Hopefully he can stay healthy.
He was pretty ass last year, though, wasn't he?
He was hurt.
He was hurt.
He was fucking terrible when he was playing, though, wasn't he?
I'm going to chalk him up to the Baker Mayfield vibe where
he is famous.
He's playing when he shouldn't be.
I guess he only missed 2 games, but yeah, he was definitely playing hurt last year.
I mean, I'm looking at his points per game, or not his points per game, his points each game here, and I had Wilson in another league for a few years, and he does so well in the beginning of the season and then falls off towards the end, which you didn't really see that. I think him being out for 4 weeks kind of helped that a little bit this year. But, I mean, him being in Denver, is that just a huge difference than Seattle? I mean, are you expect more from Russell this year?
I am, and it's because of 3 letters, AFC, space in a word.
Gotta score the points.
AFC West. This is going to be shootouts twice a year against every team in your division. Love that for fantasy purposes.
Yeah.
You're talking about Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and the Raiders, the formerly elite Derek Carr. He's got weapons.
And that's
He's
an interesting.
got Devontae Adams.
I like that take. Like, the AFC is obviously going to be fireworks week in and week out, especially those divisional games. So in redraft formats, wouldn't it be wise to just go get as many AFC West, as many AFC players as possible? Like, the AFC is way more loaded, going to be scoring a lot more points, much more offense happening than the NFC. So moving from the NFC from Seattle to Denver to the AFC West, I see what you're saying there. I agree.
I mean, you're going to need 30 plus points if you fully expect to win a game against the Chargers, against the Chiefs. We'll see what these Raiders look like, again, with everything they've done. Other QB other than Russ, I mean, I got Josh Allen. The guy that gets argued about Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league. I have him linked up with Diggs. We'll get to that later on, but I'm absolutely perfectly content with my QB position.
So you like having Allen in your super flex spot instead of your quarterback 1 spot?
I mean, I have
there's
to
no
roll with
there's
him
no
there.
difference.
I have to roll with him there. I mean,
right. I'm just giving you shit.
And then I have Kirk Cousins on the bench there. This is kind of a theme of how I felt about the QBs this year. I really felt like Russ and Josh, they're going to get it done for me at an elite level. Kirk Cousins was a top 10 QB last year or something close. I mean,
11, yeah.
And you're talking about he's got JJ. So this QB position for me was a pause this year. Don't need to reach for anyone. I'm very happy there. RBs, again, this is a very win now theme. Starting right now, I have Kareem and I got Zeke.
Kareem Hunt, right?
Yes. Both these dudes have some gray hair at this point. I have A.J. Dillon chilling on the bench. He is a backup there. I know Kareem's a backup, but if you even want to pull up his numbers from last year, he spent a lot of time hurt, but when he was in, he was racking up points. Zeke Elliott, gray hair, but he's going to put up points. This is a win now team.
I mean, your running back position scares me. You've got Hunt, Kareem Hunt, who shares a backfield with Nick Chubb, obviously. And you're saying they're old as shit, but they're 26 years old.
That's old in this league.
And that's old. That is old for running backs. So, and running backs, they don't just have a gradual decline.
It's a nosedive.
They're going to fall off a cliff, and you're not going to be expecting it. So, and they are not far from that. Zeke Elliott, he's had a lot of run since he entered the league. He was a starter from the get-go. And Kareem Hunt's got a lot of run. Like, I know he's in a shared backfield now, but your running back position is scary. Who's your third guy? A.J. Dillon, you said there?
So I have A.J. Dillon back there chilling. He was great last year. Dudes were picking him up and starting him. He wasn't on rosters. He was getting picked up. One of the hottest dudes in the league, and he was being started over plenty of RBs last year. One guy that just gives me a little bit of comfort at the RB position is Chuba Hubbard, considering he is behind CMC, Blue Eyes, White, Privilege. I mean, we all know how that has gone the past 2 years. In a different league, I made a big move with a certain D in the DNZ for CMC, so I'm kind of hedging myself there. Unfortunately, it's not in the same league, but Chuba Hubbard, he's definitely someone I feel like I can rely on this year when CMC maybe inevitably goes down.
I wouldn't count on that, bud.
Again,
Chuba, when he came in and played for CMC when he was hurt, what the fuck did he do? He didn't do shit. He was like one of those waiver wire guys, trade for this guy, perfect handcuff, and he put over 15 points on the board fantasy-wise 2 times all season last year. I know the whole team sucked, but I don't believe in Chuba Hubbard, and I don't think you're going to be starting him unless you're absolutely desperate.
I try to look at the positive side of every situation.
Yeah, and I'm trying to give you my critical thoughts here so you can make adjustments accordingly.
And I appreciate that because this is a team
bet on that.
This is this pit boss squad. We are on high alert for moving forward. It is a win now or else everyone's going to get fired. Wide receiver position, I feel pretty good. I mean, Amari Cooper, he's going to Cleveland. Clear WR1 with Deshaun Watson. One of the best quarterbacks. Everyone, we won't even go.
That's been kind of a roller coaster for Amari Cooper owners. Like, with him in Dallas, you like that spot. They passed the ball a shit ton. Cooper was really good last year. Well, I wouldn't say really good. He was a wide receiver 27 last year. But him going to the Browns seemed like a death sentence almost. And then they get Deshaun Watson, and you're like, holy shit, Amari Cooper ready to fucking roll. He could be your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. But like you said, you've got Diggs there to stack with Allen, which I love the stack. Stack worked out for you in other leagues, and I love the stack.
Yeah, Steph Diggs hooking it up with Josh up in Buffalo. They're going to be drowning in wing sauce every single week. The Bills are on a mission next year, and that mission rolls through the arm of Josh Allen into the hands of Stephon Diggs.
And maybe Diggs sees a little bit of uptick in targets and volume. He was the wide receiver 7 last year, but there's no Cole Beasley there. There's no Emmanuel Sanders there. They did bring in Crowder, and they did draft Khalil Shakir as well in the draft, but that was like a late round draft pick. So maybe Diggs has more targets this year.
I've been a Stephon Diggs owner throughout the years in my fantasy ventures, and he has never disappointed. He was great in Minnesota. He's just as good in Buffalo. Linking him up with Josh there, that's just got me going right now. Now we'll touch on a slight problem area for this team. The tight end position is a disaster zone.
Well, did you mention Debo? You got Debo as your wide receiver 3.
Yes, Debo
That's
is
flame.
there. Debo is absolutely there.
And then A-Rob, you dealt with A-Rob last year, not doing a damn thing.
Well, I will tell you.
So now you're ready to reap the benefits of being patient with him. Thank God you didn't drop him or anything.
In this current setup I have my roster at, I've been going back and forth on A-Rob there or maybe an A.J. Dillon. Again, like I said, A.J. Dillon was a dude getting picked up and started and winning games last year, and Allen Robinson was a bum. Now, Allen Robinson's in a much better situation this year, and the wide receiver position, just the point potential there, especially with A.J. being the backup RB there, he's probably getting a 40-60 share, I would say, if not maybe a little bit better. But that was my real pain point setting the lineup, was A-Rob or A.J. Dillon there in the flex. And then, yeah, like you said, Deebo Samuel, this dude.
He maybe won't reproduce exactly what he did last year, kind of with his volume and how they're using him concerns that he's got. But he finishes the wide receiver 3 last year. So, I mean, you had 2 top 10 wide receivers last year, and I see that in the realm of possibility happening again. So, your wide receiver position is not one to worry a whole lot about.
No, and I am not. RBs are old, but are there in the here and the now.
But what happens if one of those guys go down? You've got Russell Gage down there. You've got Julio Jones, who isn't on a roster. Like, if one of those guys goes down, Vinna, I mean, Russell Gage could be good for those first few weeks with no Godwin there, but if one of those wide receivers goes down, who the fuck are you going to put in at wide receiver, dude?
Well, one of the biggest sleepers of this upcoming league, Terrace Marshall. So let me tell you about Terrace Marshall. This dude was a second-round pick last year out of LSU. Might have been the year before. It doesn't matter. He played with JJ at one point. I know that. Him and JJ were together at LSU. So just reading, the internet today, we're talking about Terrace Marshall. Dudes were seeing him in their spring camp being particularly a red zone target. They were running a lot of plays to him in the red zone. Someone actually, an unnamed Panthers source, made him a first-round target. They quoted him as a first-round target that they got in the second year. Now I'm jumbling up all my words, but Terrace Marshall is actually someone that I am actually very, very excited about moving forward. And yeah, Russell Gage, that's perfectly good insulation. Those dudes have been seen to get hurt before, and even when he was playing, he was an occasional playmaker. So he's on the bench right now for a reason. If someone gets hurt, he becomes a big deal.
And then your tight end position.
That's
what you need to work on.
Is a total disaster. We have Tyler Higbee. We have, oh God, why aren't they organized by position? Dan Arnold and Tyler Conklin. That's bad. Folks. That is bad. That is bad.
Maybe you need to target a Trey McBride there with your 207 pick. I'm gonna be honest with you.
And speaking on that, I really don't like my draft position a whole lot because
the 104
RB is probably my need, but do I take an RB there when we factor in value and then circling all the way back around to 207 until I pick again?
So if Kenneth Walker fell to you at 104, would you think you would pick Kenneth Walker if he was there for you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, then
Oof.
He's in that top 5 pick category.
You got to assume. And you love the handcuff. You love having the Josh Allen and Steph Diggs. Why would you not want to add in a third? Because that's where he went, isn't it? Kenneth Walker? Or no, he went to Seattle. Damn, yeah. Never mind. Yep. They did draft a running back, though, didn't they? Buffalo?
Buffalo did draft James Cook, yep.
James Cook, ooh. See, that's a good guy to keep an eye out on.
He won't fall to the 207, most likely.
We'll see.
Most likely.
But like I said, this is, and just reviewing my team here, doing some spring cleaning, this is a team that can win this league this year, but it better win this year or people's jobs are going to be on the hot seat.
Are you holding out for good landing spots for Cole Beasley and Julio Jones?
Cole Beasley has always been a rock-solid comfort blanket for Josh Allen. This dude gets plenty of targets. Then
what I'm saying is Cole Beasley is a free agent, and he most likely is not coming back to Buffalo.
We're leaving that
So that's what I'm trying to say is you want them to go somewhere where they're actually going to get involved
cleaning
more than he was at Buffalo. I don't think Colby is fantasy relevant.
Not anymore, I don't think.
No. Comfort blanket. Zach, you told me about that comfort blanket theory.
What? No, he didn't.
Did you talk about Gus Edwards at all? That's an interesting guy to maybe have a bounce back year.
Yeah, Gus kind of set the tone for this team last year. I was super excited going in, and he went down before it even got started. And then I just proceeded to be right there the whole time. Like we said, how many teams finished 7-7? Gus Edwards set the tone. Losers lose. I went down early. Gus Edwards
never really shown a lot, especially with J.K. Dobbins still there. So I think that's a good guy to have on your bench as like a running back 4 or 5. I think A.J. Dillon, if he doesn't do a whole lot for you this year, I think 2023, I mean, you're going to have I think A.J. Dillon's a good guy to have in your roster. But I don't know. I think your team's all right, then. I think you're going to be competing. I mean, you went 7-7 just like 5 other teams did. So maybe you change everything. You drafted Drake London at the 104. You get your tight end at the 207, and then draft some like Wan'Dale Robinson, somebody super late, the 3rd round. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson probably go before that, but I like your team, Benar. Nick.
It's not like we were saying, it's kind of like mine. It's very top heavy, and I mean your quarterback position set, your receivers, your starting receivers set, your running backs. They're older, but I mean they're still 26, so they're either going to see the drop off this year or
you almost might look to trade them once they have a couple of good games.
That'd be a good sell high mid-season type of trade.
We'll see how it's going because this has the look of a win now roster that, like I said, we better win this year.
Well, like Kareem Hunt was running back 48 last year,
but he also only played like 8 games.
That's a terrible running back too.
Well, here's what he did last year. He's never had an injury history, but when he came in to finish the year, he played 2 games in this whole red spat that I'm looking at. I mean, he went for 10, 25, 16, 27, 6, 17. Relevant.
Was that when you're talking about Hunt?
Yeah.
Was that this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is past year.
Yeah. 10, 25, 16, 27, 6, 17. That's when he played.
I do keep forgetting Watson's there. That offense is going to be rolling.
And they've always been kind of known as like a run-first type of team. So
that O-line's one of the best in the leagues.
Yeah. I definitely don't think they'll turn into a pass-heavy team out of nowhere. I think it'll kind of be gradual as they kind of work Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson into the offense. But I do see Nick Chubb and Kareem kind of losing a little bit of value with that. But they're still going to be a dynamic 1-2 punch. It's just going to be, are you going to play Kareem Hunt the game that he gets 80 yards and 2 touchdowns?
Right.
Or are you going to play the game
he's
where
got the same story as A.J. Dillon. Like, there's another running back there that's the starter. So it's hard to figure out when to plug and play them. Like, they could have good weeks, but it's hard to predict that. I mean,
did you see that stupid video of Nick Chubb squatting 625?
No, he squatted 625. Yeah, it sounds like Nick Chubb things.
Yeah.
Was it a full squat?
It was a full squat. It was a full squat, but that just looks like a knee problem waiting to happen there with that type of workout.
Imagine if there was no Kareem Hunt in Cleveland. Imagine what Nick Chubb could do.
Probably be hurt, if we're being honest. Splitting time when you're that big of a running back, like, I feel like his drop-off would be a whole lot quicker.
But if he stayed healthy, he would be like a top 5 running back
every single
He doesn't need the passing game.
No, I think he would be like I think he would like his comp if he was the lone back would be like Ezekiel Elliott. I think that's a good comp.
Talking about the fucking Browns. What the hell are we doing?
Tell me Deebo Samuel. Tell me what's going to happen here. Tell me what's going to happen here.
He's going to re-sign with the 49ers. He's going to see less action out of the backfield, but he's still going to be that number 1 target, that wide receiver 1 in the offense. He's a good wide receiver.
He's going to sit out the season.
I think it's been a wild... I think people don't have the full perception on Debo because of that year he got hurt and just wasn't on TV, wasn't in people's faces on social media. But this dude was a huge reason why they went to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. He was one of their best players. And then he got hurt and he just disappeared. And then he came back and did what he did last year. So he's not fully cemented in people's minds as a superstar in this league. People still think he's some sort of a risk. No. Debo Samuel. We disagreed on this last year, folks. He paid off for me.
That's for you.
All right, and that'll kind of wrap up our individual team breakdowns. And we'll kind of do more team breakdowns in the future. We'll bring in some LOC members in and talk about their teams, similar to how we did here today. Next week, we're open to do a startup mock draft, maybe bring in a league mate for that fourth chair here and kind of do a startup mock draft and do a full 12, 13, 14 rounds. I don't know how long they normally are, but appreciate you guys listening. Tune in next week, and hope everybody has a great rest of the week.
Let the good times roll.